All right, I have 6, so let's get the party going. So we'd like to welcome you all out and call to order the regular meeting of the Governing Board of the Queen Creek Unified School District. We'll first start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, and I will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is discussion and possible action to approve the board meeting minutes dated June 16th and July 6th.
I move to approve the board meeting minutes from June 16th and July 6th.
First and second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Construction report, Jim Lamb.
President Bragg, members of the board, community members, I'm going to take care of both the construction report and the superintendent report in one swat tonight.
Look at you, Renaissance man. Unfortunately,
I do not have construction photos. Jim will share the construction photos next meeting. But I do want to let you know that Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary ribbon cutting event was postponed and moved and rescheduled for August the 4th. So related to construction. Also, just wanted to let you know that we got the certificate of occupancy for both Desert Mountain Elementary and Faith Mather Sossaman additions recently, and so those schools are ready to go and ready to open, and Jim will share pictures with you guys at the next meeting. And then the last thing, I just wanted to make it public that we reached our 10,000th student this past week, and so we're very excited. In light of everything that's happening, we continue to grow exponentially. So. I don't think we've had. I just want to answer your question. I'm going to look back to Stephanie. I do not remember being a part of any discussion where we have those. There's nothing planned for them. The ribbon cutting for Catherine Meacham Barney will be a small, intimate video ribbon cutting event as well. Now, for the superintendent report, we're going to take a moment and share a video that a marketing department put together, the same video that we've been sharing with all of our new teachers today. New teachers started showing up today. First thing this morning, we had small group rotations throughout the day, and this is the video that kind of talks about a year in review through the lens of our strategic plan. And so go ahead and play it, Quincy.
Perry Berry, Superintendent for Queen Creek Unified School District, where our mission is to empower each student to achieve excellence in all pursuits and lead with integrity. Everything that we do within Queen Creek Unified School District is done through the lens of our strategic plan that has 5 priority areas: student success, exceptional personnel, safe and healthy environment, effective partnerships, and effective operations and systems. This year-in review video highlights our 5 priorities in action.
to the Queen Creek Unified School District Governing Board for being a finalist for this year's Luella Klein's Excellence in Governance Award.
We are a service organization. We serve people, and we have customers, internal customers and external customers.
How do you put a value on it? You can't. It's priceless.
On behalf of our governing board and our staff, we're very proud to recognize you with this Award of Excellence, present you with this awesome plaque.
Thank you. That's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
$100?
$100? Chris, what do you think we should give him?
I think we should give him this check for $2,500.
That's a lot of money.
The principal of Francis Brandon Pickett Elementary School presents Helen Lytle with our 12 News A+ Teacher of the Week Award.
Surprise, Mr. Mattis, you have been nominated as the 12 News A+ Teacher of the Week.
Today we are here to recognize Mrs. Mesman as Channel 12's A+ Teacher of the Week. Because I know.
On my elementary route, I have approximately 50 students. My middle school is a little bit smaller, about 30, 35.
But what is PBIS?
It rewards good behavior like this, while providing constant consequences for behavior like this. We are kind. We are respectful. We show integrity.
We are PBIS.
These are all students at Queen Creek High School. They play games and hang out together, but how they became friends isn't the way you may think. They're part of Link Crew, a club at school that pairs a junior or senior with a freshman.
Creek Unified School District is one of the fastest growing districts in the state of Arizona. We offer enrichment programs, before and after school care, and a youth athletic program.
Queen Creek School Districts love our Schools Day. Parents, teachers, community members painted doors, power wash walkways. They even created a painted rock garden.
On November 5th, 2019, voters in the Queen Creek and Mesa communities passed the Queen Creek Unified School District Override Continuation.
Queen Creek Unified School District schooled its students, teachers, and staff in energy efficiency practices. The school district took advantage of the SRP rebate program to further reduce energy costs.
The 2019-20 school year was definitely unprecedented, and I am so proud of the way our students and faculty came together to make the best of this unique situation. We will take what we learned in 2019-20 to make for an even better school year moving forward. Here's to another great school year where excellence will be achieved through leadership.
Desert Mountain really gets into it. Oh my gosh, look at them all. Oh, JBE, you know that stands for Jack Barnes Elementary. And we're down here in Queen Creek. Wow, were you in Seussical Junior?
Yeah.
Isn't that a fun show?
Yeah.
What part did you play? Do you remember?
I think I was just singing.
Corey's gone back to school at Silver Valley Elementary in Queen Creek. They're brand new.
That concludes the superintendent report. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Next up is call to the public. I have one blue card, and so I'll just read this before I call you up. Individuals who wish to address the board are requested to complete the appropriate form prior to the meeting and give the form to the board secretary. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA. The president will limit discussion whenever he deems such action appropriate to the proper conduct of the meeting. So with that, we will have Anthony Pothoff come on up and just tell us your name, address, and then you have 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right. The next is a consent agenda. I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Whew. Broke my staple. Okay. Public hearing pursuant to ARS 15-905. So we're going to call to order the public hearing pursuant to ARS 15-905, which is, so I just need to call that hearing to order. So I'll take a motion to.
I move that we call to order the public hearing pursuant to ARS 15-905.
Seconded.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Public hearing for proposed expenditure budget and truth in taxation. Dr. Strong.
Mr. President, members of the board, in accordance with 15-905, we have to hold a public hearing for the purposes of the proposed expenditure budget to turn it into an adopted budget. We have had these documents, truth in taxation, as well as our proposed budget, posted online and also published in accordance with 15-905.01. We're carrying forward this presentation, and I will start with the presentation. Mr. Weston, who's our new Director of Business Services, will join me on this presentation. Mr. Weston joined us when Charlie Martin went up to be the Deputy Associate Superintendent for the Arizona Department of Education. So we still contact Charlie all the time, but Mr. Weston's new to us.
So have we met you yet? No. Well, welcome.
It was during COVID. So yes, he was introduced during COVID.
Right, but we haven't met you yet, right? All right, so welcome aboard.
Hello. Thank you. It is now, yeah.
So here we go. This aligns with our strategic plan. It aligns specifically with effective operations and systems, optimizing the use of funds through fiscal responsibility, and strategize use of resources through balanced planning. Our objective today is real simple. We want to tell you how important that voter-approved November override was, and you'll see that in Justin's portion of the presentation. We want to review with you the 2021 expenditure budget compared to the 1920 expenditure budget by some major changes. The detailed plan is obviously in the documents that you guys were able to review and the community was able to review over the course of the last 3 weeks. Review the district-wide 2021 expenditure budget by fund groups, look at the tax rate so we can honor the truth in taxation statement, and then talk to you briefly about future financial and capital planning.
So going into the 15% M&O override estimations that we're looking at for the fiscal year 21, we're looking at $8.6 million. We need to take a step back and recognize and tell the community thank you for that continuation. As you see, it's almost 12% of the budget that we're working with this year, giving us a grand total of about $72 million. And as promised, it will go towards reducing class sizes, continuing additional salary increases for staff, and then also the expansion of the gifted program, AVID, JROTC, music and arts, athletics, K-5 reading and math, as well as vocational programs. Major changes from the fiscal year 20, we saw an increase of 686 ADM, 5.5% estimated growth, which gives us an extra $4.4 million in increased budget to use. A district additional assistance increased by approximately $1.8 million. The base level increased by $3.7 million from $42.02 up to $43.59 for fiscal year 21. Average teacher salaries are up 5% from $53,200 to $55,906. The building renewal grant, Fund 691, we expect at least $1 million across 5 approved projects this year. And then classroom site fund decreased to $425, which is down on average, $9 per pupil. And it's important to recognize here that we've seen a decrease in sales revenue at the state level through the second quarter due to COVID. So you'll recognize that is a correlation here with the decrease per pupil. So what do these changes affect? Well, the increased ADM for the $4.4 million increase in budget gives us new teachers at Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary and Eastmark High School Junior High. The district additional assistance increased by approximately $1.8 million. That's going to help with our lease payment and capital improvements. A base level increase of 3.7% is going to pay for teacher and staff salary increases. Average teacher increase, again, shows 5% teacher salaries from 1819 to 1920, and then again into the fiscal year 21. The adjacent ways levy, $1.4 million, helps complete projects for ingress and egress at our schools. And the community site fund went down again to $425 per pupil. That's going to eliminate a rollover payment for Fund 12, but in the sense that it's going to give us a reserve so that in the event that we continue to see a fluctuation within that rate, then we'll have what we need to do what we need to do. As for teachers, we've got 32.8 new teacher positions due to estimated growth in the district. Teacher salaries, again, are up. It's a 5% increase for existing teachers. And classroom site fund performance pay remains at $3,000. And then you'll see the new display for district teacher average salaries that will be displayed on the website. For fiscal year 21, again, it's $55,906 compared to fiscal year 20 at $53,200. An increase of about $27.06 or a 5% increase. For additional staffing for our growth, we have 16.9 FTE positions for Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary, which breaks down to 1 administrator and 15.9 certified and support staff. And just to reiterate, the 32.8 FTE positions for teaching staff, that's primarily based on growth at Silver Valley, Faith Mathers Sossaman, and Eastmark High School. We have 18 FTEs in exceptional student services based on site need, resource teachers, instructional assistants, and other related services. And then 25.6 FTE for support departments, transportation being 19.6 of those positions. For unrestricted capital, we've got our DDA increase of $1.8 million that we discussed, which will cover our lease payments. And then from Prop 123, we're looking at $498,000 as an estimated amount received.
So on to some things that we want to say overall in this budget. These are always estimated figures. We adopt the budget, but we can by law bring back a revision. We usually bring that back in December. We bring back another revision in May. This last year, the state legislature allowed for a third revision that we did in July as well, due to ESSER funds and GEAR funds. We can talk about those in a second. Carry forward estimates are currently at $4 million. We're tracking last year's budget. We are still receiving invoices against POs that were put into last year's budget, and we do think that carry forward could approach close to $6 million. I don't think it'll be as high as $6 million, but I do think it'll approach $6 million once we have closed out the year, which usually happens on September 30th. With that being said, we made this board, this cabinet, made some really good decisions when COVID hit to be very financially conservative. And in making those decisions, you see the kind of end product there, because last year we had about a $3.0 million carry forward in the adopted budget. And so this just helps us with planning this year in the long run. We're able to plan. We never want to spend that carry forward down to zero, because if we're on current year funding in the state of Arizona, you spin it down to zero and you miss on your ADM projections, you are in a bad bind. So our effort will never to be spend carry forward down to zero, but we do have more flexibility this year than we had last year because of decisions that were made in a financially conservative manner in March. Revenues in community education funds and revenues in food service, well, you'll see in the budget, those are going to experience a lot of variance this year. Why? They're enterprise funds, and that means that the revenues are collected on behalf of people that buy stuff from us, right? Whether that's a food product, whether that's a YAP program, whether that's before and after school daycare. And so the variance in those funds can go up and down. It's two of the funds we have our closest eye on in the business office right now are those two funds. Revenues and grant funds, it needs to be mentioned that our SAPI estimate, our small area income poverty estimates that we get through things like the U.S. Census, right? Please fill out your census data. They continue to go down in Queen Creek, SAPI numbers do. Why? Because in reality, we're attracting out here middle to high income families, and in attracting middle to high income families, you'll see your small area income poverty estimates go down. That's what is our entitlement grants are based on, and when our entitlement grants are based on that, we need the board aware that as we get grant funding year over year, we might not have as many entitlement grant funds in future years. They'll go up a little because of student enrollment, but they also have the propensity to go down because of SAPI, so there's an interaction there. And then finally, results-based funding. We need to mention this in the budget because there is no data from last year to determine results-based funding, and we don't know how the governor's office and the Arizona Department of Education are going to allocate results-based funding this year. In all likelihood, I would guess that they're going to do it based on prior years, but you just never know exactly where that's going to fall out. We do have about $500,000 in results-based funding that we garner on any given year. So there's variance in this budget is the big message to this slide, and it is an adopted budget that will be revised twice throughout this year. Finally, on the tax rate side, this budget includes a tax rate of $7.45. That also gets revised throughout the year. I'm currently working with the Maricopa County Treasurer's Office. In actuality, the tax rate from 2019-20 was $7.44, and we think it's going to go down. The $7.45 is an estimate. We always shoot high so that in our adopted budget, we don't have to come back to the taxpayers and say, we have to go higher now. Right? We'd rather say back to the taxpayers, guess what? We adopted a budget at $7.45, but in reality, the tax rate came in at $7.40. And that's where we think it will trend, but this adopted budget has one at $7.45, and the county treasurer is really the one that's going to set that for us in the long run. Adjacent ways, we have a 1.4 million coming in. That's at a tax rate of approximately 0.23 on 100. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors adopts the tax rate. It's the final statement. I've said that several times by now. Future financial planning, we continue to capital plan. We need this board to know that our capital plan shows 10-year need of about $350 million. What's that for? That's primarily new schools. We have elementary school 9 that we think we're going to need to build soon. We have elementary school 10 and 11 that we know are going to be needed, and possibly 12 and 13, depending on how quick this school builds out. And then we've already been approved by the school's facility board for high school number 3. And, you know, a high school, Eastmark High costs us around $50 million in phase 1. And we know we have future phases at Eastmark High, as well as renovation work to do at Queen Creek High, plus the 3rd high school. So I need the community to realize in this presentation that $350 million is primarily in new schools and facilities as this community continues to fill out its 45 square miles. Did I get close, Dr. Berry? 48 square miles. We have applied to BRG grants this year. That needs to be stated as well. I kind of want to skip down. We're going to work with the board this year. We do think we'll need a November 2021 bond election. That's the governing board's right to call for that bond. But we're going to work through the board to establish why we might need one and whether the board's going to actually call for election. That's a year and a half out, and we've got about 18 months to plan that out if we're going to do so. And then finally, I want to go down to the bottom. We're going to apply for grants to offset COVID-19 financial impact. ESSER funds is a grant that Dr. Monroe's office manages, and that's worth about $550,000 to the district. There's also GEAR funds, which are governor funds, but we don't think the GEAR funds will be geared towards us. We think the GEAR funds will be geared towards some lower income areas. But if the GEAR funds are something we can apply to, we will definitely apply for them. And then finally, the FEMA grant funds that we have already submitted our application to, and there's a board action resolution, a resolution in board action tonight. So we're going after grants this year. And at this point, we'll take any questions from the board on this presentation, and there's a call to the public.
Nice job, guys.
I have a question. I was wondering, Justin or Dr. Strom, if you could go back to a previous slide where you talked about the building renewal grants and just point out our effort to secure those and what that means to the district. I think it was right there. It is. It was BRG. You want to talk to that, Justin or Matt, real quick?
Yeah. So building renewal grants essentially are grants applied through the SFB through the general fund. They are not paid for really via local tax dollars. They're paid for via the general fund. Now, do local taxpayers contribute to the general fund? Certainly, we all contribute to the general fund. Jim Lamb primarily does our BRG grant process in this district, and he applied for 5 BRG grants this year. They are for weatherization. Weatherization to us means sealing and painting schools. We're going to seal and paint 3 schools, if I remember right: Queen Creek Middle School, Jack Barnes Elementary School, and Queen Creek High School. Those grants have been approved, and they're big money, so you're going to see over the course of the next, hopefully, year, approximately, those 3 places get painted. And then we have 2 roofing projects, Jack Barnes Elementary and Queen Creek Middle School. And I just want to make sure Jim gets recognized for all his effort on behalf of the BRG submissions.
Thank you.
All right, so that moves us to the public hearing. Request to speak regarding the proposed 2020-2021 expenditure budget and truth in taxation hearing. Does anyone want to speak about it? All right. So now we will adjourn the public hearing, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn from the public hearing.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Discussion and possible action to approve proposed 2020-2021 expenditure budget.
Mr. President, members of the board, in accordance with ARS 15905D, a public hearing was just held for the presentation of the proposed expenditure budget. In accordance with ARS 15905.01, it was also held for the purposes of truth in taxation. The attached are your proposed expenditure budgets that will become adopted and submitted to the ADE if you so approve. It is recommended that the governing board approve both the truth in taxation and the proposed expenditure budget.
So if there's no questions, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the proposed 2021 expenditure budget.
First and second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, discussion and possible action to approve architectural services for Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary School. Dr. Strom.
Mr. President, members of the board, according to your direction in the last couple study sessions, we went out and procured through a consortium architectural services for Catherine Meacham Barney Phase 2. It is recommended that the government would approve the purchase of architectural services with the original designer of Phase 1, Orcutt Winslow, through the 1 GPA contract 18-21P-12.
All right. If there's any questions, I'll listen to them, ask them. If not, I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the architectural services for Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary School.
I second that.
The first and second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's awesome. What I'm really excited about with that project is we're basically going to be able to double the size of that school for just a fraction of the money it would cost to build a new school. So I'm happy about the opportunity to do that. Okay. Discussion and possible action to approve change order at Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary School space.
Mr. President, members of the board, in accordance with Arizona Administrative Code, we can submit a change order for a previously approved CMAR. In this case, the previously approved CMAR was for Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary School. In the last three study sessions, we've worked with the board to understand the need for an extension at that school, and as Mr. Brigg just stated, the financial conservative nature of building or doubling the size of that school approximately for a third of the cost of construction. The funds for elementary school space are allocated and available through our lease purchase program. It is recommended that the board approve this change order at approximately $5.07 million to build a 10 classroom wing with a media center, a maker space, and a smart lab at Catherine Meacham Barney, as well as some exterior upgrades with field space and a courtyard area.
Any questions?
It's awesome.
I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the change order at Catherine Meacham Barney Elementary School space.
I'll second that.
I have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Awesome. Discussion and possible action to approve the Arizona School Board Association delegate and alternate delegate for the Arizona School Board Association Delegate Assembly. Quincy.
President Bragg and board, as you know, each year we have to select someone to be a representative at the Delegate Assembly for the ASBA. This year it will be held virtually, so on your agenda it says that it's going to be at the JW Marriott. It will now be held virtually. So we just need to decide which one of you would like to be the representative. You can do it from the comfort of your own home this year.
I nominate Ken Bragg to be the delegate.
I had the pleasure of representing us last year in person. So
When is it? It will be on September 12th.
You'll be back in town, right?
Samantha did leave.
Samantha's not here. I nominate Samantha Davis to be the delegate.
She was the alternate. So you're nominating Samantha as your delegate, and then you'll need an alternate. Okay, so I'll have to
both of those.
So you'll have to do a second. Jennifer, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And take a vote.
Right. So if someone wants to make a motion for
So move that.
Yeah, you already did, so you just need to do a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Are we good?
You are good. Thank you.
Thank you. A consideration of possible adoption of a resolution. I'm sorry, my mic was off. A consideration of possible adoption of a resolution approving the designation of the Associate Superintendent's application form submission to the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, which designates the Associate Superintendent as the district's agent for applying for certain public assistance, and authorizing the Queen Creek Unified Governing Board and Associate Superintendent to execute and deliver said application on behalf of the Queen Creek Unified School District. Dr. Strong.
Mr. President, members of the board, as required by the FEMA grant that's available for public schools at this point, you guys need to designate the applicant agent for the district. This resolution approves the designation of the associate superintendent so that they can apply to FEMA for grant funds that help us with our COVID costs. We recommend approval for authorizing the associate superintendent to act on behalf of the governing board in getting these grant dollars to help with items like PPE, disinfecting and cleaning, electrostatic machinery to clean rooms that we'll apply for through the FEMA DEMA grant.
All right, if there's no questions, I'll take a motion.
Sounds like a good idea. I move that we approve the designation of the Associate Superintendent to apply for aid if needed.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, congrats. Discussion and possible action to approve the Harvest QC LLC special warranty gift deed and donation tax form. Dr. Strong.
The school facility board recently approved land donated in the Harvest community by Harvest QC LLC. Further, the town of Queen Creek has recently recorded the final plat that includes the school site. As per our 2018 agreement that Dr. Berry and his staff worked on, Harvest QC LLC shall convey the school site within 30 days of final platting. The execution of the specially warranty gift deed will be recorded with the Maricopa County Recorder's Office. This is essentially giving you the ability to sign the special warranty deed gift, which is recommended. This is worth about $3 million. It's a 12-acre parcel in the southeast corner of our district and is a very viable location for a future elementary school.
Fine. So with that, if there's no questions, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the Harvest QC LLC special warranty gift deed and donation tax form.
Seconded.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Discussion and possible action to approve the assignment of rights to improvement credits from the QC 320 commercial land ILP to Taylor Morrison, Arizona. Commercial land 1, is that what that is?
That
All
is.
right, sorry.
Mr. President, members of the board, I want to say back in 2018, this board agreed to a land donation of 6 acres with off-site development from QC 320 Commercial Land 1 LLP. That off-site development is essentially what we call adjacent waste projects. It's next to the parcel of land that we now own, those 6 acres. The anticipated cost of that off-site development was $226,000, and we gave credits to QC 320 in the agreement of $226,000, which is approximately 226 home sites, so that we didn't have to put on the taxpayers a bill to assess them in adjacent waste funds for the off-site improvements. Now what QC 320 wants to do is they want to reassign those credits to Taylor Morrison homes. To us, it is negligible, and the reason I believe it's negligible is because we've already committed to giving that $226,000 worth of credits to QC 320. They just want to pass them on to Taylor Morrison because they have no use case for them because they donated 6 acres to us of land. So this is just you approving that we're allowed to pass those credits on to Taylor Morrison, and the reason QC 320 has those credits is because they're doing off-site improvements on Signal Butte right next to our 6 acres.
Cool. So I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve assignment rights to assignment rights to improvement credits from QC 320 Land Commercial 1 LP to Taylor Morrison, Arizona.
I second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That moves us on to H, discussion and possible action to approve Arizona Schools Risk Retention Trust Property and Liability Insurance Renewal for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Dr. Strong, big night for you.
This is beginning of the year school startup, Mr. Bragg. So, Mr. Bragg, President Bragg, members of the board, this is our annual property and liability insurance acquired through the Arizona Risk Retention Trust. The proposed form is an increase of approximately $101,000. Please realize that we do have a credit called a loyalty credit that comes back after the fact on this, but that $101,000 is an increase that's right on par with our enrollment growth. Your property and liability and your site growth, right, in terms of square footage and space and land are going up in this district, and as they go up, we're going to pay more in insurance. The other thing I want to tell you is we have recently reached out to the trust, and we've reached out to the Arizona School Risk Retention Trust because, as with most insurance pools, we think they're going to have very good years in their reserves, and we've asked them at the end of this year to be very thoughtful in their premium setting and reserve setting for SY22 because, we're paying transportation premiums to them, and we haven't traveled a lot of transportation miles lately. We're paying workman's comp to them, and there haven't been as many workman's comp claims recently. So all in all, this is a fair and reasonable increase due to the fact that our student enrollment is increasing as well as our land and space and square footage within the district. Recommend approval.
All right, any questions? All right, then I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the Arizona Schools Risk Retention Trust Property and Liability Insurance Renewal.
I'll second that.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Item I, discussion and possible action to approve renewal of Arizona School Alliance for Workers' Compensation for the 2020-2021 fiscal year.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is the same exact concept as the Arizona School Risk Retention Trust. This is just with the workman's comp program underneath the Arizona School Risk Retention Trust. The increase is approximately $103,000, as stated before. This is primarily due to the employment increase that due to the 21% student increase that we've had over the course of the last year. Recommend approval.
Questions?
I move that we approve the renewal of the Arizona Schools Alliance for Workers' Compensation.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. J, discussion and possible action to approve the amended 2021 school calendar. Dr. Strong.
Mr. President, members of the board, Governor Ducey enacted Executive Order 2020-44 that delayed the start of the school year of in-person schooling until August 17, 2020, with the option to start distance learning programming earlier. Further, the Arizona Department of Education is required in Executive Order 2020-44 to submit an analysis of the need to waive or reduce the number of school days that are required and its impact to the governor, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Arizona State Senate, and the Board of Education by August 31st, 2020. The QCUSD amended calendar takes into account decisions are yet to be made by many governing agencies. As such, QCUSD will start online schooling August 3rd, in-person schooling on August 17th, and we are currently recommending maintaining all other calendar provisions with the ability to add days in the spring of 21 or the summer of 21 once guidance from the ADE is provided as required in Executive Order 2020-44. It is recommended for approval, and I'd like to say a few more things. But I don't want to get in front of the board on this. So.
All right.
So is this just to move it so that we're not starting July 22nd, we're actually starting August 3rd, and nothing else is changing? But in there's wording that we could possibly add days in the spring or summer?
Yeah, so here's what I need to be really transparent about. Right now, the governor and the state legislature, via statute, requires a 180-day calendar. In Executive Order 2020-44, it says the ADE is supposed to get a report back because the only one in Arizona with the authority to change that 180-day calendar is the legislature and the governor. So the ADE is going to get a report back to them. What we don't want to do in Queen Creek is go start adjusting calendars with everybody and all these families having plans, right? So what we're putting in front of you is let's change our start date to August 3rd. Let's then change our in-person start date to August 17th. But not because of a decision Queen Creek's going to make, but because of a decision that the ADE may recommend to the legislature, and the legislature and the governor may approve. We need flexibility to talk about spring and summer later on. And so this is just us honoring the fact that there's still a lot of decisions needing to be made. And until we know what their decisions are, we really can't finalize our calendar.
So worst case scenario, if they don't approve it, does that look like just losing like maybe a week of spring break and then adding a few days? Is that kind of what your thoughts are on that? I mean, it seems like they are going to approve it, right? But if not, what's the worst case scenario? What does that look like for us?
From all the angles, Dr. Berry's involved with superintendents throughout the state. He's involved with the governor's office and the state superintendent. From the angle of what Erica hears, Ms. Copeland hears in her realm, curriculum and instruction, and from the business angle that I hear about a lot, I will tell you, I can't imagine a time when the ADE doesn't recommend some sort of reduction. Whether the legislature and the governor go through with that is a whole different story. So worst case scenario is we currently are on a 167-day calendar, right, with the 13 days that we're giving up between June 22nd and August 3rd. No, I'm off. 8 days. Sorry, that's not 13, 8. We're on a 172-day calendar. So we might have to make up about 8 days. So those 8 days would be spring break and summer, essentially. Late May. So
we would have to make up days if the governor and legislature does not reduce down the calendar.
Correct.
That's not something we're doing. We would like it to be the 167 days, stick to the regular calendar, but it has to be reduced by the governor and the legislature.
Correct.
And so our vote is basically allowing us to start school.
August 3rd.
That's all we're doing, right?
We have to approve a calendar. We have to approve a calendar by state statute for the start date of school. Yes.
And so this just buys us, I don't want to say buys us flexibility, but it accounts for the possibility of us having to add days if they don't.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
I move that we approve the calendar.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I thought I heard 4. So, all right. Passes. K, discussion possible action to approve architectural services for elementary school number 9. Dr. Strong. Is anyone else working in this district?
Mr. President, members of the board, as required by the procurement code of the state of Arizona, the governing board must approve the utilization of cooperative contracts. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of architectural services for elementary school 9 project through Orcutt Winslow through the 1GPA contract 18-21P-12. A QCUSD team that included the Associate Superintendent, Director of Bond and Construction, Director of Curriculum CTE, and Director of Business Services completed 4 interviews with architectural firms who were on consortiums. Orcutt Winslow was selected by the team as the most qualified firm to complete the project. Recommend approval.
Questions? Then I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the architectural services for elementary number 9.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Information items. Discussion of 2019-2020 aggregate principal and teacher performance classification. Dr. Rogers.
President Bragg, members of the board, each year we bring this aggregate performance of our teachers and our principals to you. I'm proud to say that we have effective principals and teachers in our district. You'll see that 100% of our principals are and are effective as our teachers, 84%, with 14% being highly effective. Very proud of our teachers and what they do for our students on a day-to-day basis. There's no action on this item. It's just for information only. So,
all right. Any questions? I'm glad we have good teachers. Okay. Presentation of the June 2020 financial summary. Matt Strom.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is our financial summary out of the business office that Mr. Weston actually puts together for us. The top part's budget controlled items. As you look at the colors, be reminded that the colors simply represent more restrictive to less restrictive funds, with red being pretty restrictive funds in terms of the guidance of how we can expend those. Down below, and we're looking very good in all our budget controlled funds. You can see the $4 million in carry forward we talked about during the budget adoption process. We think that's going to trend higher as we close out the 1920 budget. Go down to cash controlled. The cash controlled fund, same color coding, is on this report. And what we'd like you to really notice here is Fund 510, food service. If you look at food service, we're in decent shape. We didn't know if we'd be, but the summer feeding program with all the meals that they served, Quincy has the number probably at the top of her head, but I think it approached 400,000 meals that they served. Those were all reimbursable through the National School Lunch Program, and that kept us pretty solvent in that fund. That brought in about $700,000, and that allowed us to pay our employees without seeing a reduction in our budget balance carry forward. So then you go down here to 523 community school, and we're keeping a tight eye on the community education budget in 523 because that is revenue driven through public participation in the after school services, the YAP programming, and we did see, as anticipated, a significant drop in our budget balance carry forward in that fund. And so we're keeping a tight monthly eye on that budget. It has not, we're really fortunate. There's several other districts that have had to already dip into M&O funds to pay for this enterprise services and the employees out of this. We've not been in that position yet. That's mostly because Dr. Moreau and Dr. Berry started spinning up some YAP programming and after-school programming and summer programming as soon as they were possibly allowed to do with the governor's executive orders. And we've had camps going, and that's brought in revenues. So, but we are keeping a tight on that budget.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
So just a comment. Thank you to the Food Services Department for feeding our families and our children and really kind of helping to carry us because we knew that, you know, the closure was going to be really tough on employees and on our budget to pay everybody and continue to pay everybody. And so it's greatly appreciated the service that they provided us.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to Community Ed. It's really exciting to see all of these camps and programs, and they're figuring out ways how to keep these kids safe, but also active during the summer, and I think it's awesome. Doing a great job.
Is there a meal program in the summer? So it's continuing.
Yeah.
He's pitching a no-hitter. You should let him say it.
Dr. Berry's, here's what I'll tell you on behalf of food service. Dr. Berry's got a spot on the money. Dustin Walker is constantly monitoring new regulations that are coming out, and it is the information coming through the NSLP program is daily. And so he's trying to figure out, with all the daily updates and all the daily guidance that's coming out, how do we best put Queen Creek kids and families in the best possible position moving forward.
One thing not to end on a negative note, but we anticipate our eligibility for this program to end based on some of that census data that Dr. Sean was talking about earlier. So this could be our last opportunity to offer these types of services for the Queen Creek schools. But this would give you kind of a heads up on that stuff. You know, all this eligibility is based on your census and poverty data.
And another just comment to Dr. Strom and your staff and the work that you guys have done on the budget. I was really anxious about what COVID was going to do to our budgets as we continued to pay everybody, and you guys have done a phenomenal job just holding everything together, and the ability to have carry forward money at all is amazing. So great job.
All right. And that takes us to personnel. So
Move that we take personnel in its entirety.
Second it.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that leads us to announcements. We have upcoming board meeting, August 11th, study session at 4:30, general session at 6, September 15th, and October 13th. So again, school is scheduled to start online August 3rd, and the 5-month summer, 6-month summer is almost over, and then we'll get back in the classroom when we're allowed to get back in the classroom. So with that, it's time for adjournment, and I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
First and second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're done.
And that's the ball game. We got to sign stuff, right?